Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's going on, YouTube? It's Nathan back with another video presentation. Happy Wednesday. It does not feel like a Wednesday to me. Does not at all. This is episode 10, season 6 of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. This is part 2 of the NFL 1.0 mock draft. Sean Spencer, from that one half of the dynamic duo, the man, the myth, the legend, Herndon's finest, is back with me.
Yes,
if you missed last night's episode, be sure to check that out. I'm also going to go back and do some shorts, not for the mock draft, but also for the WNBA mock draft as well. So definitely be tuned in for that. Check that out. In this episode, we're going to continue with picks 16 through 32, and then we're going to get into a little free agency talk. And the next video you'll probably see more than likely from me is Friday. Maybe see one tomorrow because there's something the WNBA that happened. Kathy Engelberg, as the commissioner, very, very tone deaf on some of the comments after the recent arrest of Brittany Griner overseas in Russia. And I'm praying for Brittany Griner, hoping that she's staying safe and we get her home safely. And also, too, still want to take this opportunity to pray for those in the Ukraine. Finding more and more vile, disgusting stuff that's happening to the people of Ukraine. So I'm just continue to just pray for those. So be sure to give this video a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. So we last picked off with the top 15. 16, excuse me, where we picked off at Nakobe Dean. Excuse me. I said Dean. Please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. Linebacker. I think Philadelphia should continue to build their defense. As particularly, I had them taking Sauce. Never mind. I had them taking Derek Stingley Jr. Because I think they need a guy on the other side of Darius Slay.
That's where, 15?
I had him at 15, yes.
Yeah. Because for at 16 is where I had oh snap! You just gave me mine. I didn't have Nakobe Dean. I had Jameson Williams.
Okay, the wide receiver.
Yeah, from Alabama.
Okay. Okay, I'm not mad at that. Yeah. So I feel like Nakobe Dean, he's definitely he's one of the best. I think he got the Dean Butkus award. Probably he's one of the best linebackers in the nation. So I mean, the only thing is he's like Devin Bush. I think he's like the same height as Devin Bush, like 5'10" and 5'11". I remember correctly. So that's the only thing that's a knock against him. But other than that, I think he has the tools to be a good linebacker.
And he is quick into the ball, man. He is an outstanding in pursuit, man, and he's fast. That's the thing. And anybody off that defense, is good, but he especially stood out. So
definitely,
I'm down with him. I would love him. I'm like Washington. We need a linebacker, but
yeah, we'll see. 2.0 things could change. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
Very true.
Stay tuned. This next team, no, they're no longer in San Diego. They're back in Los Angeles. They're led by that guy.
LA.
They're led by the young gun and Justin Herbert. That Chargers team, I think, has all the tools to make the playoffs. There was just a couple brain farts he had last year down the stretch. I looked at the Chargers, and the one thing that stood out to me was their defense. They just cut Brian Bargera, Bugla, I think I say his last name. And I'm like, okay, they could fill that hole. Because I think the biggest thing is I mean, they got Darren James.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about trying to recruit the Honey Badger to come out there, so they can work on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm. They got they just got they got Khalil Mack now.
They got Khalil Mack. So this might be a reach. With the 17th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Jordan Davis.
Oh wow!
Out of Georgia. Shout out to Anthony Handy, SEC. The Chargers. I looked at this stat before we went earlier today. They were ranked 30th against stopping the run.
Yeah,
and I really feel like they need to buff up that defense. Don't get me wrong; they got guys. I think with a healthy Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Darren James, and Asante Samuel Jr. They are a playoff team. Guaranteed.
Without a doubt.
This was the same team that last year I said on the round, shout out to Sean Spencer on the round table. I said that the San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, would be a top 4 seed, and that came back to bite me in the ass.
Didn't you hit a guarantee on that one?
I did.
Yes, I did. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't go that far from you. I said the other guy. I said Devontae Wyatt. Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I said that they. I said they should
it's
go.
Conrad.
Right, exactly. So, and that's only because I had Jordan Davis going sooner. I absolutely agree that they need to do something to stop. They have Derwin James back there. J.C. Jackson they just picked up to the Patriots to go along with Asante Samuel Jr. and those other guys. I honestly think they are going to be legit this year. They've been making moves.
Definitely making some moves.
And look, hey, well, I'm going to say it right now. Give me a guarantee on it. LA Chargers, Jacksonville Jaguars, AFC Championship game 2022.
Guaranteed.
There you go.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I can see the Chargers. The AFC is going to be a bloodbath this year.
It's crazy because the Jags are making a hell of a lot of moves, and then you already know what the Chargers are now doing. And then we're coming into the draft. They pick a big-time player like this. Oh, come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to this next team. Drew Brees is no longer there. Sean Payton, I think mentally just wore himself out. You're hearing stuff like he's in the office till like 3, 4 in the morning. I think mentally he's just stepped away from the game. I just think also too I think he had COVID twice, and I just think all that went on. I think not having his star quarterback for the first time since 05, 06. So it's a trend. This is now year 2 of the transition phase of Drew Brees. Now the New Orleans Saints, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of the NFL raising the salary cap, they're still operating in the red. They really don't have the luxury of making moves unless some guys, like really quick, let's just take a gander at the New Orleans Saints salary cap, shall we? And I'm going to use my good old trusty spot track because these guys, some guys you're going to have to really consider taking a pay cut. And that ain't happening. So actually, Spot Track has it this way. Estimated cap space top 51 under $2.5 million. That's nothing. And then they got $13 million in dead cap.
Right.
Because of Drew Brees, Traquan Smith, Latavius Murray, and then there's some other guys that are making less than $100,000. Your highest paid player is Michael Thomas. His dead cap is 37. His cap hit is 13. Armstead's making 13. Cameron Jordan's making 12. Taysom Hill's making 12. Malcolm Jenkins making 11. DeMario Davis, Robio were making $10 million. What am I saying? They broke. So why not start the new era of Who That Nation with the 18th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select Desmond Ridder. I think this would be the guy to start off the new era in New Orleans. Jameis, I think the injuries, I just don't think we saw enough with Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill really didn't show me much to say, hey, I'm the guy that can take this team from here to here. And then they had Ian Book and that game against the Dolphins, which was just flat out ugly. I think this is an opportunity to start a new era with probably one of ironically, if you think about it, Sean, I had all 4 quarterbacks on in the first round. So he being the last. So I think that I feel like this is a guy that New Orleans should consider, and they could take with the first in the first round.
I will agree with your premise. I see where you're going with that, and I absolutely agree. A quarterback is definitely what they need, but I am going to go and kind of focus on the quarterbacks that they have. You have Taysom Hill, who is known for his running, but he can throw. He's very mobile. You have Chase Daniel, who sits on the bench, who's known for he can throw a little bit, but he's more mobile and everything like that. I think I like Desmond Ridder. I think you go Matt Corral. I think you bring him in. He is very mobile. He's small. He's that same size. Drew Brees, all of them, shorter guys. They are mobile, and that's what you're going to need until you're able to build that O-line. So I love the quarterbacks. I definitely think they need that. And I know there's been rumors in the water about Watson potentially going there. We'll see because, like you said, they broke. Ain't got no money. That you know what I'm saying? Like, so
they have to literally cut some corners and because some of these guys will have to restructure their deal. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
That's just ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I considered Matt Corral. I did, but I kind of was like,
them to me, they're neck and neck.
They're neck
honestly.
and neck.
Ridder and Corral are neck and neck. Like I would go either or. So I have no issues with this. I'm saying me personally, I pick Corral.
Corral in this one, for sure.
You know, I personally want Corral on Washington. Like I think he would be great. But that's I'm biased.
Right. Now let's go back to the city of brotherly love. They have again with the 19th overall pick. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of these first round picks came from the trade for Carson Wentz, and it looks like Philadelphia is starting to win that trade. Mm-hmm. So I still stayed on the defensive side of the ball. I did consider that Philadelphia would take Tyler Leidenbaum out of Iowa because Jason Kelsey signed 1 more year, and he's getting he's older. I was like, okay, they could use a center, but I decided to stick with defense, and with the 19th overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select David Ojabo.
Wow!
Out of Michigan. I think that with this pick, I feel like this is an instant rebuild with these 3 guys: Stingley, Nakobe Dean, and Ojabo. I think people even had him. People had him projected higher. Some people had us Baltimore taking him, but I think he would be really good in that rotation because I think Brandon Graham is not getting any younger. So,
but still, he's still solid. I mean, even though he got hurt, he's still very legit. So
very legit. But I'm just saying, at some point, the torch is going to be passed on if they consider drafting David. Right. I think I don't want to say he's a project. He's going to need some time to develop as a linebacker.
Okay.
Which there's always that growing room. I give him about a year or two. I think he'll try to be a good linebacker. Definitely he is disruptive. I mean, he showed it this past season in Michigan. I think he's probably that one of the reasons that Michigan defense was outstanding. Even though they lost in the Final Four, but I think his
they
play
got there.
They got
Who
there.
expected them to get there at the beginning of the year?
Exactly. Yep.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I personally, I had the Purdue defensive end George Karlovic.
George Karlicic.
Karlovic, yeah, I like his size. He's got explosiveness. I watched a lot of that Big Ten, but honestly, I didn't know if this was too early. But since you said I like David Ajabu here, I'm one of the people that would have picked him a little earlier.
Yeah.
And if we were to trade back into the first round, that would be somebody that I would be eyeing
for sure.
I think he like you said, he's the other half of Aiden Hutchinson did his thing, but he did his thing because he had also this threat on this side too.
Yep.
So
that's true. Good point. Yeah. Good point. Now let's go back. Let's get to into the AFC North. Just a few miles up above me, Pittsburgh. Now the Big Ben Roethlisberger era is over. It's finished. Hall of Famer. The Steelers, regardless of his play, showed tremendous holes to me, in my opinion, the games that I saw. Najee Harris, to me, in my opinion, I think was cannot be a majority of that offense. There were a lot of times where I looked for Chase Claypool, Washington. I know Juju Smith-Schuster was out, but there were times I was looking at them. They really weren't reliable, especially Washington dropping the ball. Dropped a lot of passes, kind of like Hollywood Brown in some situations. But I looked at, particularly that stood out to me was their offensive line. That's something that hasn't really truly been addressed. Marquise Pouncey's not there anymore. And the guys that they've signed, So with the 20th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kenyon Green. I really feel like they really need to consider building that offensive line for the next few years. I'll be honest, I considered Matt Corral going here, but my concern was I don't think it's quarterback, offensive line. That's the one thing that said to me. If you notice, Big Ben last year, even with the way he got the ball, the reason he's getting the ball in his hands so quickly, because I don't think he really trusts his offensive line. Now, we could say that style of play works, but there were a lot of moments this past season where he's taking hits at his age. So I really think this is a good pick for them. He's very versatile from what I've seen on tape. He did pretty well in the combine. So why not take him? Now, I don't want to say this is the guy, but this is something that Pittsburgh should start off. They need to address the offensive line.
Okay. I agree. I definitely agree that he needs to address the offensive line. This is actually where I had Ajabu, and I wanted him to run opposite of TJ Watt, just like he did opposite of Hutchinson, and being in Pittsburgh. And I thought that would be a good fit for him. I think it would be able to, you can have it like Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green in the early 90s. You know what I mean? So I thought like that'd be a good 1-2 punch. I thought, a good system for him to come into. But I like this. They need O-line, no doubt. But this is where this is where I had Ajabu. So I had one pick behind you. So
for sure. The next team, the team where they deflate balls and the divorce. I'm just kidding. The team where the divorce of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick happened, the New England Patriots. Couple things that stood out to me this year, their defense. I thought on paper at one point they were a top 5 defense, but we got to see against Buffalo in the playoffs, Josh Allen. Yeah.
Relationship with your children.
My God.
Definitely. So I did feel like the couple things I looked at was their corners, linebacker. They're really just in the edge. But I went with the 21st overall pick. The New England Patriots select Kareem Elam.
Ooh.
I think he would be a good fit here for the Patriots. Because now that J.C. Jackson is now gone, he's now going to San Diego.
Right.
So I feel like why not? Why not consider drafting this guy here? I mean, I think he would fit a Bill Belichick system. You know, I think he has the length, and he's really good at man coverage from some of the games I saw from Florida, particularly, you know, the games I saw with him at Florida. So I think they could consider taking him with the 21st overall pick.
I like that. I definitely do. I think you opened my eyes to something, because I was thinking totally opposite. I was thinking go offense. I was thinking you have your Mac Jones, and I got to shout out Big Nick. Okay, Nicholas Rosario. When we did that preview show at the beginning of the year, Nick called it. He said Mac Jones would be a perfect fit in New England. That defense was coming back after not playing, and they're going to get in. They're going to get the 7th seed in the wild card to get into the playoffs. He said Buffalo's going to be number 1, but New England's going to be right there with them. I was like, oh snap! Okay,
he was right. He called it.
So I'm going to go with the trend. The trend is having, you know, your college quarterback get his college wide receiver. I'm going to go ahead and get Mechie. I think they're going to get John Mechie, bring him into New England. Actually have a quarterback, receiver that now the quarterback knows. And this is a quarterback that's playing, you know, he's very conservative. We already know. In that the first Buffalo game, he threw 3 passes? You know what I mean? So then get him somebody that he knows and he's played with. And that's the trend in the league. Why not? You can get those other positions. You already know they draft well and they pick up and sign free agents and all that stuff well. So let's get a receiver. Help out your quarterback.
Remind me again, how many passes did he throw in that game, the first game against Buffalo?
It was 3.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Oh, gosh. The win game.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I actually like that. I'll be honest with you. I considered Beachy and Jamison Williams. Yeah. Because let's just keep it. Nikhil Henry, I think they've given up.
Didn't work.
It just didn't work. And I have a buddy, I have a good friend, good mentor when I was at the community college I went to. Patriots fan. He was like, yeah, it just ain't working. Mm-hmm. He said he even saw it when he came out of college. Nah.
It's not working.
Nope. So they're going to definitely move on from him. Now, let's go to the West Coast. This team that got into the playoffs week 18.
What? What? And you got to be kidding me.
The team that didn't have John Gruden, who sent out egregious emails. Derek Carr, who I felt like, who to me, I consider one this season MVP candidate, got to the wild card and faced the Los Angeles Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about the Oakland Raiders. With the 22nd overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Zion Johnson. No, your eyes will deceive you. I'm not calling them Las Vegas. They're still going to be the Oakland Raiders to me. I'm sorry.
Wow. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. If I got to let go Tom Brady throwing a trophy, and now he's back. So you know we getting year 2 of that. Tom Brady trophy throwing 2.0. Okay, you need to let it go.
I will let this go if you let that Tom Brady throwing a trophy go.
When you let it go, all right, Whatever. Let's go.
I mean, you know what? Let's change it right here. Let's change it. Here we go. Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders select Zion Johnson.
Wow.
I think they could really Alex Leatherwood. Not that he's not. He's actually turned out to be a good lineman. I think he held his own this season. I just think where he was drafted, that was a reach. Even where shot to Nicholas Rosario, he had Baltimore taking Alex Leatherwood, and I'm like, okay, but I feel like they could definitely use offensive line. I think with Las Vegas, that line's kind of getting a little older, and I think why not? I mean, Derek Carr, I think they're going to continue to ride the ship with him as much as they can and get out of him. I think he's probably the most. I'd say he's the next last, in my opinion, available offensive line lineman, not center, that I think Las Vegas should take advantage of and take. So,
yeah, this is where I'm gonna put. What did I have? Hold on. Oh yeah, this is where I'm gonna put Ohio State's Chris Olave,
the wide receiver.
Yeah, the wide receiver. What do we know about the Raiders? They're notorious historically for one thing. They love to go deep, and they love their fast wide receivers. Think about all the Raiders receivers. You got the Tim Browns, Jerry Rice. Think about the Cliff Branch back in the day. You know, John Jett they had in the time. You know what I mean? They love their
even Deshaun Jackson, yeah.
Deshaun Jackson, Willie Gault. He was a USA sprinter. They love their fast receivers. I think you go with somebody like Chris Olave, send him deep. There you go. Like I think that's where you go with that. I think they're gonna love that. And like you said, Derek Carr is he some reason gets so he's so underrated. He's always in the top 5 in passing each year, even with all the mess that's happening. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we? Am I not seeing something? Like, what's going on here?
No, and I think a lot of it also too is that one, and that's where again we have to start learning not to rely on the media, like ESPN, for example, because they're always going to spill out their stuff. There's guys that think they know football or any sport, but sometimes they don't. And not all the time. I think sometimes they just like to just talk instead of actually watching the games. Like when I remember a couple years ago, I was watching First Take, and Max Kellerman and Stephen A. just completely just went off on him. Like, you're not that good. Like, you don't have that kind of power. And I'm kind of like, well, what are you watching? Like, the team around him was really not that good.
Right.
But again, this is a results-oriented league. It's a quarterback-driven league. But I think that Derek Carr. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be on the record. I believe he was one of those guys in the locker room that willed the Raiders to get where they were last year.
Really?
I think he was one of the reasons why they got to where they were and to get to the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
Henry Ruggs. Dealing with Henry Ruggs situation. The John Gruden emails. Those kind of things. I think the leadership, that shows leadership. That shows tenacity,
right? And
I think that just shows how that Raider team was. Right. So I'm actually not mad at that pick. I actually considered that, or I actually considered Treylon Burks.
Yes, from Arkansas, right?
I considered him as well. Yeah. So I'm not mad at that, Sean. I'm not mad at that. You definitely opened my eyes on that. I should have known because particularly when you said Tim Brown and Jerry Rice. Because that speed. That offense was definitely a cheat code.
They love it, right? They love their wide receivers. We just talked about it. Well, yeah.
They love the offense. They love their wide receivers. So let's go to the desert. After the Arizona Cardinals came up shorter than Mini-Me.
What the hell was that? I'm pissed off. Get it together. Y'all look like trash.
After the performance they had against the Rams, where they only scored 11 points offensively, they couldn't do diddly poo
Nothing.
And on top of that, their quarterback comes out and, with the agent comes out with all these excuses. Well, we want to see long-term commitment from the Arizona Cardinals on Kyler Murray.
Could have, would have, should have is the difference what I'm talking about.
The Arizona Cardinals are right now at a identity crisis.
Yeah.
Right now. Because it's funny. This team started off 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear anything about the Cardinals. You said, "Oh, they are a legitimate contender to go to the AFC Championship."
Mm-hmm.
Now they struggle. Guess what? Then that's what the narrative happens again. Oh, it's Anthony. What's good, sir? It's Cliff Kingsbury's fault. Oh, Cliff Kingsbury has to go. Oh, how could he get a job? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, sometimes, and again, it always can't be on the coach.
Yeah.
As players, I got to step it up.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with that.
With the 23rd overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals select Daniel Fale. I'll be honest with you. I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me is their offensive line.
Yeah.
That's one thing that was hair. That was just a complete eyesore. Now I think this is not a reach. I think he's more of a late first round, early day 2. I definitely think he has. He's 6'8". I think he's around 380 something. I think he has the tools to be a good offensive lineman. I definitely think he would be good for an offense like Kyler Murray. But like you said, I kind of have to think about it. That kind of offense, you kind of used it with Evan Neal, Jason Peters like. So I think the Cardinals should look at the offense. Now that Chandler Jones is gone, and
that's where I went.
I mean, the only guy that I considered for the Cardinals was the George Calazella, Karlaftis, something like that.
Yeah.
So
I thought my first thought was Chandler Jones, and once he left, I'm like, I need to fill that hole. So I didn't have Greg Lloyd taken yet, so I had Greg Lloyd in this spot. I thought, Arizona, because we saw Zaven, what was it,
Zaven Collins
from last year at Tulsa, and you saw what happened and all that. That
did not work.
I wanted him. I was telling him all last year. Bring Greg Lloyd in, have him fill in that spot, fix what messed up, and let's move on from there. I think that spot, that's what they need. It's a need. Let's go ahead and fill it.
I agree with that. Not bad. Hey,
real quick, this is not unrelated. It's baseball news. Just came on my phone. Freddie Freeman signed a 6-year deal with the Dodgers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just came up on my phone.
I'm praying we sign Carlos Correa. Please, Baltimore, sign this man. Please, baseball guys. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. It's okay. I knew he was going to go to LA. That's okay. We're going to get into that in a future video, ladies and gentlemen. You might see a rant from me tomorrow, but that's okay. Let's move on to really Atlanta. Really, well, look at it this way, Ant. You re-signed Eddie Rosario.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen. Regardless of this new deal, the small market team still won. I mean, and look, I ain't gonna lie, he got his championship, and I think the Braves are going to be okay. They could have went out and got Chris Bryant, but Chris Bryant's going to Colorado for the next I think it's an 8-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying that, I think the Braves are going to be okay. I do. I mean, Freddie Freeman definitely, yes. I mean, it's the end of an era, but he Yeah. So let's transition to this next team. This next team, ladies and gentlemen, you might know them by this little tune.
Mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the Cowboys?
Yes.
Wow.
This was the same team that wet the bed in the wild card against the San Francisco 49ers.
14 seconds.
14 seconds. I could have played the whole thing, but I'm not going to do that. Shout out to David Wright, Ash Swinton, Janae Strother. Shout out to them. I forgot. And some of the Pastor Brandon.
Oh yeah. No, Jeremy, my cousin Jeremy, and J Red.
Shout out to them. Shout out to those guys. Yes, Dallas. So, a couple things that stand out to me about this. Dallas is in a win now situation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they don't have a lot of salary. They don't have a lot of money to make moves neither. It's make or break.
Yep.
They know they got to win now, and I think they can. Now, what stood out to me the most in the area was offense, and a couple of things I wanted to take into consideration really quick. I just want to bring up their salary cap so I can let you guys know where it's at. They have now over $24 million in salary cap because now Amari's gone. I do believe Jalen Smith and Amari Cooper, that's going to be dead cap. And then Blake Jarwin and Kwanu Neal, that's going to be dead cap on the salary for them. And as of now, their highest paid player is Dak, and then behind him is Zeke. So they franchise tag Dalton Schultz. But I'm looking at the offensive line. Those guys are not getting any older. Now, you may remember this guy.
Any younger?
Any younger, excuse me. I apologize. Thank you, Sean. They're not getting any younger. And the biggest thing, I think the reason for Dallas' success has been their offense. So I looked at my notes and I said, okay, why not? So with the 24th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Ladenbaum. I think since Travis Frederick had to medically retire because of his condition, I would consider them. I would strongly think they should take a center, offensive line. You know, that wouldn't hurt. Even though I would have considered Tennessee taking him because Ben Jones is now gone, but I'm like Dallas could take him. If you pushed me, I considered other Zion Johnson or Bernard Raymond. I considered one of them, but I'm kind of like, well, Dallas could use a center, so why not? I mean, Sean, what do you think?
No, I honestly, I looked at it just like you did. And I said, all right, I want them to go offense. Last year, they went all defense in the draft. It worked. This year, let them go offense. Mari Cooper, gone. You signed Michael Gallup, but Cedric Wilson, gone. You franchise tagged Schultz, but Blake Jarwin, gone. You need a pass catcher. You need somebody that's going to break. I still had Treylon Burks available from Arkansas. I think that's a steal at 24, and I think they can go bring him in. He can come in there with CD.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Because at this point right now, you have CD Lamb and Michael Gallup, and who's your number one? You know what I mean?
CD, as of now, was CD.
Right, but you know what I mean? So it's like you have those two, and then you don't fall off. You can bring in that third guy, and Dak loves his tight ends and third receivers. So,
Right. Oh, I just had to get something. Hold on. Oh, no, you're fine. I just had to get because I have an alarm that's going to go off in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
I had to grab it. So, no, I didn't think about that. That's a very good point, too. So, okay. I would consider. I looked at the offensive line. I should have considered wide receiver now that Amari's gone. I didn't think that would happen. But
Yeah, I didn't either. That's the thing. A lot of this stuff changed in the last 24 to 48 hours.
A lot has changed. So let's move to above us. Hopefully they stay in Buffalo, crossing fingers. The Buffalo Bills select Trent McDuffie, corner. I think this would be a good fit for Buffalo because I'm looking at Tre'Davious White. I don't really know. We don't really know since he's going to be out. I just feel like just take the corner. Out of Washington, very athletic. I love his awareness. He's not like Stingley Jr. or Sauce Gardner, but he will hold his own weight.
Very true.
And that was kind of the biggest thing that was lacking in Buffalo. I should have given a little predecessor. This Buffalo team that got to the AFC Championship and gave us a show. For one to remember, where people, because they don't know how to play defense, have people talking about the rules are trash, changed overtime rules.
What the hell was that?
Absolutely.
I'm still trying to figure out how do you give Patrick Mahomes 13 seconds?
How do you do that? How do you do that?
I don't understand how you don't squib kick it. Why don't you just squib it? Squib it right down the field. It'll bounce around. At most, you'll probably get like 5 seconds. One play. That's all they would have had. But you totally effed it up.
If I saw Sean McDermott in person, and I just would just have one question in that game. That last 3 seconds. Sean McDermott, excuse me. But that's it, McVay?
No, you said McDermott.
Sean McDermott.
What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing?
Why did you not squib it? Like Sean said, why did you just not squib it?
Just
so
right down the middle.
I think you should definitely consider taking him. And again, I don't know what Tre'Davious is going to where he's at. And again, when you're recovering from an injury like that, it's not just the physical part, but it's the mental part.
Exactly.
So
no, I went there too. I absolutely agree with you. I went to the other one though. I went Kyle Gordon.
Hey, Chad, good to see you.
What's going on? I went to Kyle Gordon. Honestly, I love the speed. I love his size. I love what he brought to the table. And I think exactly like you're saying, Tre'Davious White injury. We don't know if he's going to come back the same guy that he was before. And before he was a playmaker, he was a ball hawk. We don't know if he's going to come back that same way. Let me get some insurance. Let me get a guy that I know is going to be really solid. He's going to play well for me. Get him in the first round. You already know we just picked up Von Miller in Buffalo. So I'm like, right.
I don't like that contract.
But hey, if he gives me what he gave the Rams in the last part of the season, that's all they need. They needed somebody like that to take over the game.
Yeah. I'll grant you that. That's fair. Yeah. I'll concede that point.
Yeah. They have a massive piece of magic on the offense. So, Janae Struthers, shout out to you, girl. Let's go.
And also, too, I also considered, because if your name's not Gabriel Davis or Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen or Dawson Knox, Josh Allen could use another receiver. I consider Treylon Burks or Chris Olaf.
I like that.
I considered it because Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders I just don't think panned out. And also, too, Gabriel Davis was the only one that really had a pulse. Stephon Diggs, where
he fell apart in the playoffs. He fell apart. Now, all season he was solid, but in the playoffs, yes, he was noticeably absent. He got doubled. In every single playoff game. But, I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. But yeah, I know I went defense, but I can get that. I can get that.
Let's go to this next team, the Volunteer State, where without King Henry, they got to the playoffs and they lost to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I love that one. R.I.P. Denny Green.
Look, the rest of exactly. You know what?
Crown him already.
I really feel like the Titans need to buff that offensive line. I really strongly considered another wide receiver alongside AJ Green. I really think that letting Corey Davis walk was a mistake. That's number one. Julio Jones.
They just left. They lost him today.
They cut him. Released him today.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. So I mean, again, and then also too, I really wasn't understanding. I know Tannehill didn't have a good game in that playoff game, but he, without Derrick Henry,
he was solid.
I mean,
he was better than a terrible quarterback. Yeah. He was good. He kept them afloat, and he kept them at the number one seed without Derrick Henry. So I can't disagree with you. You got to give him his due.
And I'm kind of like, okay, when Derrick came back, did that take some of the momentum away? Now, like I stated, Ben Jones is now gone. And I believe his name is Roger Sofold or something like that.
Yeah.
They're going to let him go probably as well. So why not take Bernhard Raymond with this pick? I like Bernhard out of Central Michigan. I think he's a good tackle. Again, I value offensive linemen. I think you can get them day 1, day 2, day 3. But if I'm Tennessee, the Volunteer State, I'm considering buffing up this offensive line and just retooling it for years to come. So why not take it with this? And I think he's already. I think from what I've saw heard from other people, articles that I read on him, he's already shown that his development is good. So
yeah, no, I totally don't disagree with you. Like I 100% agree with what you got going on there. I think you go O-line. I actually went to guy from Northern Iowa, Trevor Penning. You know what I mean? I definitely
had him gone. I had Baltimore taking him. Yep.
I really like him, and I thought he would be around. I think he would be a steal. Steal to people that don't really know him, but to us that kind of follow this, it's kind of like we can see. I think he is solid in Northern Iowa, and I think he will be a great help to a team that is dedicated to running.
I agree with that.
So
I agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, I completely Bernhard Raymond. I'm with that too. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like, I can go in that direction. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to go on a 2-minute warning here. We're going to go instant offense with the 27th overall pick. The now Tom Brady led Buccaneers again. Oh my God.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jamison Williams, wide receiver.
The rich get richer.
I think with the departure of Antonio Brown, they did resign Chris Godwin. I like Scotty Miller. I think they could use a slot or number 3 wide receiver. I feel like this could be a reach because I don't know where he's at truly with his injury, his recovery. I did consider Treylon Burks or Chris Olaf. So, I mean, with Tampa at this point, because I did also consider offensive linemen. I considered Actually, yeah, no. By the time we got to Tampa, I had no offensive linemen. They were all going to be in day 2 or day 3. I considered Bernard Raymond because Ali Medford retired, so I considered him at that pick. So why not?
Yeah, I went Bernard Raymond. Because I knew Jensen's gone, and I knew that was.
Well, they just re-signed him.
They just signed him.
They re-signed Ryan Jensen.
Okay.
So Ali's the only one that's retired.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's where I went Raymond. I went line. Yeah, I went bulk up the line. If you're gonna bring him back, then you need to bring in some young, fresh help that's gonna help him out. He'll like that, and there's gonna be some kind of weird fact like this guy wasn't even born when Brady was drafted, some random stat like that. But I think it'll be a weird, nice connection. I think you bring in the O-line, bring in the guy I just mentioned, the guy from Central Michigan, Bernard Raymond, and just help bolster that line, keep Tom Brady upright, help him get to 45.
I agree with that. Let's go to the land of cheeseheads, where there's more drama.
Always
Green
drama.
Bay, there's always drama. Aaron Rodgers got his money. What he freaking do?
This is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this.
No, listen. All seriousness, Devontae did not accept the franchise tag. So he's looking for the long term. He's looking for the money. Because now that I think Christian Kirk, I think he got some big money. So that's what Devontae
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So, with the 28th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Chris Olave. I think they really could give Aaron Rodgers a weapon. I like Scantling, Scantling. Alan Lazard really did had a good year, but I think he could use another weapon, another wide receiver. I think Randall Cobb, hit or miss. I did not have an offensive lineman. I think they could have got it in day 2, day 3, day 4, because now they really didn't address Corey since Corey Lindsey left to go to Los Angeles, the center. They could really use some offensive line help. So I'm like, there was really no one else I considered to take, because the offensive line I saw the potential for that to me a potential first round picks are all gone after 26. So.
Like my guy Lee Corso says on a college game day, not so fast. I think what they need since losing Zadarius White, you need defense.
Zadarius Smith.
Or Zadarius Smith, sorry about that. You need defense. I think you go to the guy from Houston, Logan Hall, 6'6", 260. He's, he can play in the middle, very underrated because he went to Houston. None of these big name schools, but he can play. I've seen a lot of that, a lot of those games. And I mean, he's quick off the ball, dominates that line, demands, two guys and guys bumping him and everything of that nature. So I like that direction. I think that the Packers need something to keep that line. They need something to. The defense was solid last year. Build it up. Because to be honest with you, that kept them in that game. When and that playoff game against San Francisco, that defense was holding strong, but the offense let them down. So I agree with the receiver thing, but I'm going to go with the history of the Packers. The Packers, since Brett Favre was there, has never drafted him a guy like that, a receiver. No. So, he's always asked for help. They don't do that. You know what I mean? So, boom. I think you go defense. But I love this pick. But
for sure. Let's go down to the 305. The same 305 that the Miami Dolphins that fired Brian Flores after going on a hot streak, and we're one game away of being the New Orleans Saints. And they have an owner that most likely tried to pay his former head coach to tank games.
Most likely,
he had a quarterback controversy.
He did.
Mostly, I believe he did. Quarterback controversy. Front office liked Tula. Brian Flores didn't. I think he wanted Justin Herbert, and he wanted Deshaun Watson, and I think we created a division. So The Miami Dolphins, I think, have the pieces, I think, on offense. But I went defense on this one. With the 29th pick, the Miami Dolphins select Devontae Wyatt. Now, some people may think, wow, he's kind of late going in the first round, but I think they need to, in my personal opinion, they should consider looking at defense. I considered Logan Hall at this position. I did. Either him or Logan Hall, take your pick. But I again, they could use some offensive line help, but there was nobody than the guys that I had that were first round. There's nobody else I could say that's a reach where I could get them in day 2, day 3. So defense, offense with this pick, you could go with anything, but I just went with Devontae Wyatt.
I like that. With them, I know I kind of went. I went secondary. Yeah, Gateman Howard had that 2 years ago that was pretty solid, and last year kind of fell off the map. And they kind of dealt with a lot of stuff last year, especially on defense. So I went with the safety from Georgia, Lewis Sign. I liked his speed. I liked his agility. He was solid, and it was basically like a no-fly zone in that secondary. Not many people went deep on them. I mean, obviously that front seven took care of most of anything coming out of there, but there's nothing that really went over their heads. So I'm down. I think he did great, good pedigree. And coming out of Georgia in that defense, I think that will be something that this new coaching staff will love for Miami. So
I agree with that.
I went with your defensive side, but I just went that direction. So, yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Now, let's go to the Midwest, the same team that should have beaten.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding?
Playoffs?
You lost this the same Chiefs team that's been in the AFC Championship 3 years, and you lost to Eli Apple and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bullshit. I'm sorry. I still haven't recovered from that game. Look, they re-signed Frank Clark. I was surprised they re-signed him, but let the Honey Badger walk.
Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu. I was surprised by that. I considered defense for this pick. I be honest with you, I had 4 picks at this pick. I considered Andrew Booth, Darian Kennard, and Logan Hall.
Okay.
But I'm like, well,
playoffs.
Kansas City offensively, they're dynamic. Now they brought back Josh Gordon, but they really haven't utilized him as much.
Utilized him. Wait a minute. You think he's the same Josh Gordon that left that from before?
No, but I think he can bring something.
I understand that, and I went there, so that's where I went because I don't believe in Josh Gordon.
Yes.
I believe in who he used to be, but since he's been gone, that's for you, Anthony. I don't believe in him. I personally went to Jahan Dotson at Penn State.
Wow.
He is a baller. I think he's going to move up into that first round. His stock is rising. He did well at the combine. I love his explosiveness and his acceleration. So I think that they would do well picking him up, be honest with you, because I agree with you. Defense, maybe go here. I thought about going, maybe a linebacker. I thought about going maybe a safety, like a Kobe Bryant or something like that. But then I even thought O-line, but I was like, you know what, man? You got Tyreek. You know what I mean? You got some of these other guys. Let's get your a solid number 2. Jump you in there and then really be a nice little toy to get KC into the champion so they can lose another championship game.
Because they really haven't had a legit number 2 since Sammy left.
Right.
So I went with the 30th overall pick. The Kansas City Chiefs select Treylon Burks.
Oh, I like that.
I think he would be good. I think he would. I think he would be a steal.
Yeah.
Because I think he would love that quick screen and pass off offense with Kansas City. I think he would love that. Now I've made a mistake. Darian Kennard he's offensive lineman, so he actually was the last offensive lineman I had considered because they're not bringing back. That's the coach. I'm sorry. No, they're pretty much solid offensive line, so they're good. So I consider Andrew Booth at that position and Logan Hall. So. It wouldn't hurt Kansas City to take a wide receiver with this pick. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Miko Hartman, Pringle, but they need they really haven't had that guy legit number 2 since Sammy Watkins was there. So I consider that George Karlaftis as well edge because I mean Frank Clark's not getting any younger neither. So
because I seriously considered O-line. Because of obviously their O-line issues, but then I was like, you have an opportunity to give him a solid number 2, and Jahan Johnson, a lot of mock drafts, is going in the second round, and I think that's a travesty. He needs to be a first round pick, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think he's right up there with the Alabamas, the Williams and the Mechis, but because he plays at Penn State and because they didn't do well this year.
The team didn't do well this year.
Well, right. So you're not getting that much attention, and that's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, I look at the offensive line. They got Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Tooney, Orlando Brown Jr. I mean, he's franchise tag, but they did address the offensive line. So I think wide receiver for the Chiefs would make sense. Now, this next team was in the Super Bowl against the Los Angeles Rams. And Joe Burrow is elite.
Yes.
I'll be the first to admit that as a Raven fan. And the biggest thing, and Sean has given me credit for this, and I will continue to say it. I was on the Bengals taking Penei Sewell. And they went with Jamar Chase because one thing, again, I'm going to keep saying it, I value offensive, particularly when you're going to build around a guy like that.
Yep.
And to just see where he's been at with his injury, why not say, okay, I need to buff up this offensive line. Now, they did go out and get an offensive lineman, but I think they could use more than what they got because their offensive line across the board was just pitiful. I think he got sacked. I might be wrong on this stat, but I think it was almost 70 times he got sacked.
About 70 times, including the playoffs. Yeah.
Including the playoffs.
So when are we going to say something about it? You know what? I'm going to walk away. I'll be right back because I'm scared I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble because I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
I agree.
With the 31st overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Darian Kennard. This pick makes sense because they just need to buff up that offensive line. I know someone's going to sit here and go, well, they went inside, they got an offensive line. I think you're missing the point. When your guy is sacked 70 times plus playoffs, that tells me your offensive line did not do their job. And I mean, if you think Troy Hill or whoever was on that line this past season is okay for Joe Burrow, you need to go back and look at some of them games. Now, case in point, Jamar Chase worked out. But what if They just said we'll take Penei Sewell because Penei Sewell, the Lions definitely took a steal in that one. But I don't. If you're Cincinnati, you cannot miss on this. You got to get some offensive line help.
What do you think it would be different if they took Penei Sewell? Like, do you think they would have gone to the Super Bowl?
No, I don't. But I think it was been the right direction of them building that offensive line
For the long term?
for the long term. Because I mean, they could do it now.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying they can't. This time they can't miss on it because.
No, I agree with you. I had that. That was the same thing I had in my mock. I had them getting O-line. I had them protecting their investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I like you was like, oh, well, they got Jamar Chase, but it worked.
Yep.
I mean, and hey, hindsight's 2020. But honestly, in this spot, I went O-line as well. I went Kenyon Green. I thought Kenyon Green at Texas A&M, 6'4", 330. I mean, the guy moves mountains. He's a big boy. He does his thing, and I think, hey, exactly what you were thinking. Needed O-line. Mm-hmm. You need to get these guys on that line. Period. That's the number one focus. We talked about he got sacked 9 times against the Saints. He got sacked a Super Bowl tying record 7 times against the Rams. You need to address that.
You do.
And I don't care. You need to do everything in your power to take care of that one thing. Or Joe Burrow needs to be like,
I'm out. Peace.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. I'm with you on that one. And with the final pick of the first round of the 2022 NFL draft with the 32nd overall pick, drum roll please, the Detroit Lions select Andrew Booth Jr. Out of Clemson. I think some people, I was actually surprised. Some mock drafts had them taking Kenny Pickett. I'm like, wow, you guys think Kenny Pickett's that late? I think he is the best player. When I did my notes, the best player available in the draft. I think he would do wonders on the other side because of Jeff Okudah out of the Ohio State. He was 2020 third overall pick last year. He got injured. He was out for the season. I like Booth's game, very versatile. I think he is the ideal player that I think could fit Detroit's defensive scheme. It's particularly, and shout out to Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn would love a guy like this. Aaron Glenn would definitely love a guy like this. So I think the Lions should consider just continue to build that defense.
I think they should consider that, absolutely. I was one of the people that went with a quarterback. Honestly, I thought that you always good to have a backup. It's always good to have a number 2, and you make Jared Goff kind of not prove it, but kind of, hey, let's have a competition. Let's get a little. Let's see what's going on. Let's get the blood flowing.
Well, so your boy TB12 is not good enough?
Huh? No, look, TB12 is gonna make things happen. You watch. TB12 is gonna start a game this year, but it's gonna be because of injuries. But I think I picked up Desmond Ridder. I thought this would Desmond, but then I thought about it, Desmond or Kenny Pickett, in my opinion, right now, because at this particular point, I think they could use just having some of that young fire, just kind of pushing the mode, just keeping things going. Because Jared Goff, I don't know, I am not 100% sold that Detroit is 100% sold on Jared Goff.
Let me ask you this question. Let's have this record.
Here we go.
What is it about? Besides, I understand your point about the Super Bowl. Are you strictly saying because of his performance in the Super Bowl, you're not sold on him? What is it about Jared Goff? If I didn't know who Jared Goff was, what is it that you're not sold on him about?
So I said I'm not sold on the Detroit Lions being not sold on him. I don't think they are sold on him as their quarterback. Me personally, I'd love to have him Washington over Heineke, Maybe even over Wentz. Yeah, that'd be great. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and crown this guy like he's Tom Brady. I'm not going to sit here and say he's an elite quarterback. Yes, he went to the Super Bowl. He did, and we can go to the whole quarterback or coach conversation. We can go to the whole court. Okay, we can go to the whole quarterback versus coach conversation and say, "Oh, who is it? Who are we going to give the credit to? Who are we going to do that?" But what I'm saying is, Jared Goff, the whole trade and the whole situation was awkward, and he landed in Detroit. Detroit, who gave away a 12-year guy, a vet, the guy that's been with them, now is without a quarterback. Now they're not sold 100. They didn't put Jared Goff in that role and say, "Hey, now you're the guy that's going to be over 12 years." They said, "Let's see what happens." They had a new coach. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think we can't just say, "Oh, let's keep giving them a chance." Like, if they get a new guy, I think it'll be good to put a little fire there. I didn't say let him go.
I don't disagree with that. I don't. I hear exactly what you're saying. But it's like the question, hey, Mr. Al, how many licks does it take to get to the turn of a Tootsie Pop? How many more quarterbacks does Detroit need to go? I mean, they had Matthew Stafford for 13 years.
Right.
So is it Dan Campbell's not sold on Jared Goff, or is this ownership and front office that we all know them historically to be not knowing their football and not knowing what the hell they're doing, letting their egos and not letting people let them handle the football side? Is this a upper management front office choice, or is this Dan Campbell? I think those are the questions that need to be asked, because Dan Campbell, I said Anthony Lynn, excuse me. Dan Campbell took over that play calling, and they played offensively as a cohesive unit better. I'm not saying long-term Jared Goff's the answer. I'm saying here's a guy that can be a game manager. I just hate for a Desmond Ridder or Kenny Pickett, to any young quarterback, to come into a situation like Detroit, and then it goes up. Draft another one after 5 years.
But I don't think
I
don't think Detroit is Jacksonville right now. I don't think Detroit is the Jets right now. I think Detroit is a team that has good culture. We talked about Dan Campbell. We talked about Aaron Glenn. We saw how the last part of the year was last year. They were looking up. They were winning games. They beat the Packers. They beat the Cardinals. They were winning against teams they should not have won against. They tied with the Steelers. You know what I mean? What I'm saying is that with this, look, you guys dealt with it this year. Lamar went down. What were we going to do? McSorley, not that guy.
McSorley went to Arizona, so we couldn't get him, so he was gone.
Huntley proved that he was that guy. What do you need? You need a backup. Well, don't even do that. Don't even do that. Because the only reason you were still in the hunt is because Huntley came in and at least did decent.
That's okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm saying you need a backup. I'm going all the way back to Bucky Brooks. You need somebody that's going to come in here and potentially push the starter to be better, but you need to have a backup, because if something happens, you need to have a good number two. We see teams like Carolina that they have 3 number zeros. None of them are number one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have starters over there anymore. So you have to get a number two. And if this number two, you can definitely let him learn for a year or two. You know what I mean? And I think he's a little bit better than Jordan Love in Green Bay.
Watch this. The Detroit Lions should call up Tampa. I'll trade you I'll give you our TB12 for Kyle Trask.
Wow.
Trask.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I take that.
I think everyone said they're not sold on Trask, but
I take it.
But I'm just saying, I see what you mean. They do need someone to light that fire on Jared Goff. Let's see how he looks. I do agree with that.
You have to get the best out of him. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely agree with that. That's the first round, 1.0, ladies and gentlemen. Again, stay tuned for the 2.0. definitely, Sean. I appreciate you. You definitely opened my eyes on a lot of some of these guys.
You same there, man.
Because I ain't gonna lie. I'll tell you. I think I may have reached for in the first. We're going to recap that. I just want to be cognizant of time because my producer's going in my ear saying that we were going to do free agency, but
mine is too. So
really quick, I think I may have reached on the 29th pick with Devontae Wyatt, Limbaum, Fale, Zion Johnson. I think we're reaches. I think if realistically, if I redid this, which will happen at some point, when I collab with you, Sean, I could see like Zion going down a little lower. Limbaum probably going to a team like Tennessee. They could use a center. Cincinnati, I think with any of these guys, like you said, you had Kenyon Green, Zion Johnson, any one of those guys would be fine for a team like Cincy. I don't think I reached. I just went before we had the Russell, because I think the Russell Wilson trade, I think, kind of changed the trajectory of the draft, in my opinion. I did not expect. The only quarterback I did not have go in the first round was Matt Corral. That was alarming. So I had one, two, three, I had four quarterbacks in the first round. Could have had five, but could change. So, y'all know your thoughts on the 1.0 mock draft. We were going to get into some free agency talk, but again, we're going to be cognizant of time. So we'll probably we'll get back at you guys on a later date. Really, I think because we're still this is really the first week of free agency, so this is just a taste. Stay tuned. You may see an episode from Sean Spencer on his channel. Let's Talk Football off season recap week 1. You may see something like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. The next video you're going to see from me is Friday, because we got to talk about the Washington Wizards. These boys is something else, man. And the WNBA. The mock draft 2.0 went up. Check that out if you hadn't already. I got to get into Kat Engelbert. She made some comments, particularly. I think these players enjoy going overseas, and the article is very tone deaf. Very tone deaf, and it shows a lot about her as a commissioner of the league and some other stuff. And also too, the WNBA League Pass now is $24.99. So they hopefully we don't get out where games are blacked out. I don't want to see that, and weird commercials. So and until then, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to conclude episode 10 of the podcast. This weekend, I will have these episodes uploaded on Anchor via Spotify. I'll even work on it Friday evening. But until then, enjoy the rest of your work week. Have a good night. Get some sleep. Shout out to Sean Spencer. Sean, thank you for joining me on this episode. And last and again, MVP. So definitely. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, I will see y'all on the next episode. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all.
Listen, I'm easy to find. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.